Welcome back to the life and journey of Natural Enterprise. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell because we're back with more videos.
In Ethiopia. So UNESCO came every year for supporting and protection of this area. And the Tigray is one of the 9 regions in Ethiopia where the civilization starts. The civilization. So this is locally a Tigrinya language from this region, Tigrinya. And this is just Amharic, is a national language. Both are deriving from Ge'ez languages, as we know. And this is just international English. So the main stadium park was established as a cemetery area for the Aksumite kings between the 3rd and 4th century AD, which means after the birth of Christ, but Ethiopians before we converted into Christianity. So you'll see 3 different kind of obelisks, the decorated, smooth and rough, including the underground tombs, mausoleum and false door, including the archaeological museum. And one of the second largest obelisks with 170 tons was looted or taken by the Italian during the temporary occupation, 1937, but finally came back home in 2005, which is now we can able to see them inside. So please welcome inside.
Later cross.
Cross.
How did I forget my Nadala, babe?
I don't know.
I have to buy one. I'm going to because Mariam, that's a big deal church.
Yeah.
His Majesty built that church. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, talk, Anta. All right.
Yeah, okay. So now we are just inside the main Stele Park. So this Stele Park was dated to the 3rd and 4th century, and as I mentioned, which was already pagan kings.
Okay.
Because Christianity introduced after this Stele, or which is 328 AD or 4th century AD, but these are just made before that. So we have 3 different kind of obelisks in this main Stele Park. So 3 of right here, the broken one and the 2 standing, we call them the decorated obelisks.
Okay.
So when we say decorated, they have their own structure of a window, doors,
Okay.
as well as they decorate them in all 4 sides, which means at least they have to turn them 3-4 times the ground for the decoration or carving of this kind of stele, which is just before 1,800 years. Showed them their civilization. And three of them, we call them the decorated, and we have smooth type of obelisks, smooth type of obelisks, which is less in weight when you compare them with the decorated one, and they have in different shapes. Some of them like curved in their head, and some of them like triangular, some of them very big, wider, and some of them are very thin. That kind of obelisks or steles, we call them the smooth obelisks. But the one laid down the ground here to the left side is we call it the rough obelisks, or unfinished or simple type of obelisks. Because in this main stele part we have the three types, the rough, smooth, and decorated one.
Okay.
So the rough, which is now still in the ground, are believed to be the first obelisks of Aksum, which is dated to the end of the 2nd century. At that time, they didn't know how to manage them for erection or make them standing. They just simply leave them in the ground. But later, when they become more powerful, they minimize or decrease in the weight of the steles and to try to make the smooth one and easily also manage them just for standing. After they experiencing the smooth obelisks, later they change them to this decorated obelisks. So the decorated obelisks are the youngest obelisks when you compare them with the smooth or decorated ones. So all these are made just in the 3rd and 4th century AD. So this is just the biggest of all stele in Aksum and the last one, as well as the last one. And all the steles are just made from one piece of stone, and they are just granite, as well as all these kind of obelisks, three of them are carried out 6 kilometers far from here, which means there is a quarried place where these steles came from. There is 6 kilometers far from this area, there is a big mountain called Gobo Dura. So Gobo means locally language is mountain, and Dura was just the name of that mountain. So everything, the decoration, carving was being held in that quarry place. And 6 kilometers far to this area, they transported by elephants, slaves, as well as big woods was being cutting. They put them underneath and using a rolling system to transport this huge granite stone from that quarried place. So this is the biggest of all and the last one, which is estimated they are monolithic, made just from one piece of stone. All the obelisks made from just one piece of stone, they are monolithic.
Wow.
So this broken one was estimated 520 tons in weight and have 33 meters long with 13 stories or windows and 4 meters of width or width and decorated in all 4 sides. Imagine this 520 ton must turn 3-4 times the ground for the decoration and carving. But now as you see it is just fell and broken to different 6 pieces. That have 2 main reasons why this obelisk just collapsed or fell, according to our legend history and according to the archaeological facts. So according to the archaeologists, they believe that this obelisk just fell in the time of erection, in the process. So it's never been looted or never been erected. In the process, when they try to erect it, fell and broke into different 6 pieces.
Let's leave it as that.
Yes, they said that this part is the head of the obelisk, and the other direction or the top side is just the foundation. So according to the archaeologists, the foundation, the top side, which is not the one which is not curved, is the one to enter the ground and to carry the whole part. So that is just too small. That is just too small. They said this is to carry out and to stand it. That's why this is just fell in the time of erection, according to the archaeologists. And this is just believed to be fell in 4th century AD, in the time of erection. But according to our legend history, this was just erected in 4th century AD, and it was standing until 10th century AD. The 10th century was a time of Aksumite civilization seems to decline. There was just 3 different factors. The first one and main one was believed to be 250 kilometers far. This area was just to the Red Sea. Red Sea, which was their main port in that ancient time for these Aksumite kings to trade with the outside of the world, especially with Egyptian, Greek, and Romans. So believed to be 9th century, it was under the control of the Saudi Arabia because of the expansion of the Muslim. So there is no too much trade with outside of the world. So that believed to be the first factor why the civilization of Aksum declined. The second one was just deforestation. A lot of woods and trees was being cutting for different kind of use. So the fertility of the soil was decreased. The population was increasing, so they cannot balance. So it was believed to be human and animals was immigrated to different parts of Ethiopia. The third one was there was a queen named Queen Judith. She's just a Jewish queen in Israel. And the main reason why she came to Aksum was to take the lost of Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant are the 10 commandments from God to Moses. And the Ark of the Covenant came in the time of Queen of Sheba, because she had a relationship with King Solomon, Israel, and she had a baby from King Solomon called Menelik the First. So when Menelik the First came at the age of 22, he went to Israel to meet his dad and to learn different things. And when he came back from Israel, believed to be he brought the Ark of the Covenant. So the queen, she coming 2,000 years after the Ark came to Aksum. She hears that the dynasty seems to decline, so she became with her big territory. With his big military, and she couldn't find the Ark of the Covenant just in Aksum, because when she arrived in Aksum, the monks and priests carried out the Ark and took them another monastery church. It was just kept for some moment, so she couldn't find it. So she was believed to be she destroyed this biggest giant stele of Aksum, according to the legend history in 9th century AD, as well as she burning the first Saint Mary's church. And more, the king's palace was believed to be destroyed by Queen Judith. So as we said, archaeological fact was because of the foundation is small, fell in 4th century AD, but according to the legend in 9th century AD, this is destroyed by Queen Judith. Yes.
Okay.
So question for you. I have a question. What would these decorations represent?
Yes, they have their own structure of like a door design, door and window. So simply like they are making of like a big tower, decoration window
Does
and
it
doors.
have anything to do with King Lalibela?
King Lalibela, he copied some structure of Aksum from here.
That's the one who was saying.
Just
Okay.
to
So
make-
he copied them, but
Yes.
these were made before he started his
Yes,
building the
because
church.
when you see chronological order,
Yeah.
Aksum was the first city, but before Aksum, even there is a city we call Yeha. Yeha, which is 65 kilometers far from Aksum, is the first civilization, which is the ancient temple in sub-Saharan Africa found in that area, and that was just followed by Queen of Sheba.
Okay.
So this is, we say that 3rd to 4th century AD, but Queen of Sheba, she been 1,000 years back before the birth of Christ. So, as I mentioned, but Aksumite civilization finally declined in 10th century, and the dynasty was moved to Lalibela. So King Lalibela, he copied some structure of Aksum, like a design of a door, frame doors for his underground tomb, and the window design of the Lalibelan was just a structure of like the obelisks. The obelisks, if he came from Lalibela, that
Yeah.
is clear.
Yeah, but yeah,
He mentioned that to
I
us.
just say it to them.
Damages that underground tomb, as well as this 520 ton fell under that biggest megalithic tomb. This is, we call it the biggest megalithic tomb in Earth, estimated 360 tons, and is the second largest stone to be utilized by the Aksumite kings next to that biggest stele. So when this biggest stele also fell under that biggest megalithic tomb, just separate them for smaller piece of couple of stones. Also, the head of the obelisk is now broken for smaller pieces, but have the same shape like the second and the third type of obelisk, which means this biggest stele, when it hits the ground, damages the underground tomb of the mausoleum, as well as the biggest megalithic tomb. Also believed to be the way of erection or making standing was held by elephants' power and slaves. Also believed to be kills elephants and slaves when they try to erect these obelisks. So this is we call stele number 1 because of the weight and height. But this is just the youngest or the last obelisks of Aksum.
Okay.
Because as I mentioned, the oldest one is the rough, the ground, and
One in the
later
ground.
the smooth, and later
This
the
and then this after.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the second largest obelisk. Next one, the one standing,
Right
the
here.
bright with a yes. The next one is we call Obelisk Number Two or Stele Number Two, estimated 170 tons, and have 28-meter long, with 10 stories or windows, and decorated also full side like Stele Number One, which is decorated in all 4 sides. So this is the second largest obelisk in Aksum. But as we know, first we have a battlefield with Italy, which is dated to 1896. You will see a good view later from that mountain, we'll go back to see. There are
Yeah.
some sites to see on the way.
Okay.
You will see where the battlefield held Ethiopia with Italy, called the
Battle of
Mountains
Adwa?
of Adwa, or
Oh, yeah,
the Battle of Adwa.
Wow, this is where it happened.
Yes.
Wow.
1896. So we defeat them to
Yeah.
Italian to give a great victory to Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Also inspires for the rest of African countries to fight for their
They're
colonized country.
Absolutely. Respect.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Italians, they coming back for revenge,
Yeah.
which is 1936, 40 years later.
Right.
That time they're using modern warplanes, chemical bombs, just temporary occupation in Ethiopia for 5 years, from 1936 to 1941. So during that 5 years, 1937, the Italian general called Mussolini, or the Italian Hitler, he said that there is nothing for the greatness of Rome. I should take this stele to my hometown. And he tried to cut it in the second window and 7. So it cut it into 2 places, which is coming to 3 pieces. Because he cut it in the second window and 7 for easily to transport to Italy. And he took it by his soldiers 220 kilometers to the Red Sea, which was the main port for the Aksumite ancient kings, and transported by big ship. And this was taken to the Italian capital, Rome.
This one.
This one, yes. And erected in Roma Piazza for more than 70 years.
Wow.
They took it in 1937, but finally gave us a pressure from our former Prime Minister, Meles Zenawi, as well as a pressure from all around the world, UNESCO, UNICEF. Finally, Italian gave us in 2005, just 14 years before.
Wow.
So when they bring it back, also they have to cut in the same position, the second and 7.
Second, yeah.
And they brought it by big Russian plane, Antonov, with 6 engines.
Wow.
One of the biggest plane in the world. So the Antonov even cannot carry this 170 ton just in one time. So which means they brought the first piece back to Italy, second, and 3 different times. And it took like 2 years for Italian and UNESCO to be re-erected in this original place. So from 2005 to 2007. So finally finished it in 2007. So in that 2 years, there was a lot of movement in this area, like moving of the missions, cranes. Some part of this area was just affected when they are re-erected the second obelisk. Because stele number 3, the one now with the support, is the one still standing stele in the same position and erection, since how our ancestors erect this stele for more than 1,700 years.
The one
So
with the
stele
bird on it.
just remain the same position. Because as you see, the biggest of all and failed and broken. And number 1 was looted or moved, already taken by the Italian.
Yeah.
But that remained the same position and erection since from that ancient time. So stele number 3, estimated 160 tons and have 20.4 meter long with 9 stories or windows and only decorated 3 sides.
3 sides.
Yes, at the back of the stele, it's just smooth. It's believed to be the transformation season from the smooth to the decorated one. So all these obelisks, the rough, smooth, and decorated one came 6 kilometers far, as I mentioned, from that big mountain, Gobodora. And these obelisks or steles are made for 3 main reasons. The first one was just to show their power and immortality of just the kings. Or that. And the second one was just a cemetery area. Every single stele, there is a king buried underground with his treasures and other related things. Because these kings, they believe that there is life after death. Like the Egyptians, they believe that there is life after death. And the third one is like they are making of like a big tower. It's have a door from the bottom. We'll walk around, I will show you the doors and windows. So they say that we are going to heaven. But this Marcus or Indus, when this bigger stele fell in this area, they just quit to make this kind of stele because of the introduction of Christianity. So in 328 AD, there was twin brothers called them Ezana and Saizana. They become the first Christian kings. And when they become Christian kings, they changed their name, Ezana to Abraha and Saizana to Asbaha. So there are even some Rekion churches which is built in this region by these twin brothers. So officially they become Christian kings. But these were just pagans, as well as these pagan kings, for the believer of their gods, different kind of animals they make sacrifice. Especially there is endemic animal in Ethiopia called Walia ibex. which has a big horn and small tail.
Yeah.
In the ancient times, it was living behind this mountain, but nowadays the only found is the Semin Mountain National Park near to Gondar. It looks like an antelope, have a big horn, small tail.
Yeah.
That animals they make sacrifice. So that the symbol of the animals also they try to inscribe on the wall of the obelisk. You'll see that there is a symbol of the ibex. On that obelisk there is a symbol of the ibex. That animals they make sacrifice. And these Aksumite kings, the pagan kings, even they have their own currency to trade with outside of the world. They have gold coins, silver coins, and bronze coins. Also, when they become a Christian kings, they have their own Christian currencies. So the pagan currency was one side the king's face, the coins, one side half moon and half sun, because they was believing by moon and sun. And when they become a Christian kings, one side the king's face and one side cross. But the pagans half moon and half sun. Yes, this is the ibex.
Only here in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Endemic, only found in Ethiopia.
Yeah. All right, go
Oh,
ahead,
this one,
sir.
yeah.
So, that animals they make sacrifice for the believer of their goddess. So, as I mentioned, also they have pagan coins and Christian coins. So, pagan was one side the king's face, one side half moon, half sun. But Christians they make a cross on the other side. But both the currencies, the gold coins was inscribed by Greek language. Greek have great influence in the ancient time. Like now the English international, Greek was international language in the time of Aksumite period. So in their gold coins, they inscribe them in their Greek language, use them for international trade activities. And silver and bronze was in Sabian and Giz. Sabian was ancient Aksumite language, which is even used until Yemen and Saudi Arabia, but nowadays which is dead.
Yeah.
That use them in their silver coin for domestic trade activities. And in their bronze coins was their Giz. Giz was ancient Aksumite language, which is also still service in the church for the Bibles. That they try inscribe them in their bronze coins, and silver and bronze was for domestic, but the gold was used them for international trade activities. You will see some coins in the museum and other places. So now we'll go down to see some inscription of the Wala, and we'll enter to the underground tomb.
All right.
We're going to take pictures.
Pictures?
We take pictures
Yeah,
first?
photo is okay everywhere except the museum. Museums are prohibited, but you can have photo any place. Except the archaeological museum.
Yeah, man, well, yeah, man.
We're here, man.
Here, history, ancient. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Ancient history, you know? Ancient history, come on in my soul. Rastafari is wonderful and we're cool. Ain't it? Ancient history, come on with
That's
it.
the famous
My soul.
Zion Mariam Church.
Yeah,
You see it in a lot of the postcards.
yeah. Yes, me need to take
Kings, because after Aksumite civilization, the dynasty was moved to Zagwe or Lalibela. They copied. So not only in Lalibela, also later when they tried to make their underground tomb, they copy from the frame of the doors to make for their underground tomb. So we were able to see that. But before that, let's check out. This is just decorated all four sides. You can see from the bottom. And it's just the corner side.
Yep.
Which is full side decorated. We saw from the bottom, the sideway, and that's why you have to turn 4 times the ground for the decoration. And the same to the other side, we have the symbol of the ibex, the ibex or the wada, as well as you can see very close the biggest megalithic tomb in the world. So we have some structure, we call them the monkey heads, their own structures, circle one. So this is just some part of the head, the obelisk, because when this biggest obelisk hits with this biggest megalithic tomb, some part of the head of the obelisk, you can see the round things.
Oh, yeah.
That was just part of this
That
biggest
was- yep.
megalithic tomb.
Yeah.
Because the head of the shape of this obelisk have the same shape like the second and the third type. As well as the head of the obelisk was like crescent in dice, like facing this side to the sun, and the back side was just facing to the moon. Facing to the moon.
So this is underground too?
Yes.
Thank you.
So So as we saw the structure of the door frame design,
Yeah.
that obelisk, and later even they try to make it for their underground tombs. But maybe check it out in Lalibela, that was just from 11th to 12th century. But this is just, imagine, 4th century AD, which is means this era was just the origin or the cradle of civilization of Ethiopia, the origin, where it started. So this is just one piece of stone, as we saw it also in Lalibela.
Yeah.
And now we'll enter underground tomb.
Can you turn on light?
The step.
Okay. Yeah, turn on light.
Video. So this is, we call it Tomb of the Mausoleum. Tomb of the Mausoleum, which is dated to the 4th century AD, but found 1906 by the German archaeologist, the first archaeological survey held in AXUM starts 1906 by the German archaeologist and called Ino Rittmann, and they found 10 chambers, 5 to the left and 5 to the right. So each chamber like this one, careful this, each chamber like this one contains from 5 to 10 interment of people.
What's your feet, babe?
Yeah, from 5 to 10 person, and according to the Germany, all these chambers was sealed. This was just closed. Okay. They opened them to find more things inside. So you can see how deep is this, that goes until here.
Okay.
So that goes until here. So you can see this big chamber was just to burial from 5 to 10 person with their treasures. Because this is just already pagan kings.
Yeah.
The same like the Egyptian, there is a belief that there is life after death. Life after death.
Yeah.
So they bury their treasures and other things to help them for their second life.
Okay.
So they bury their coins, pottery, and ivory, which is already excavated by the archaeologists. Some of them, we will see them in the museum. So out of the 10 chambers, 5 of them was excavated, but if you saw from the first chamber like this one, you can see how the biggest giant stele affected, cracking. This is just happening. The 520 ton was fell on the top of this.
Okay.
Well, this was happening that time, the same thing even here to the left side. So this cracking make it more difficult to excavate the other chambers, because out of the 10, 5 of them excavated, but like this one, they put them cement and other. They are looking for modern advanced technology, how just to bring them out.
Oh, okay.
These archaeologists are scared that if we dig in this maybe collapse.
Yeah.
So looking for advanced modern technology, not only in the first chambers, also we have in the middle part of these chambers. You can see like this.
Sorry.
Of course, and this is a big in slab of concrete that is up there.
Yes. Okay. So that's why this is just happening. But if you do your feet like mine, there is more things even the ground.
Okay.
So this showed that it's scary even to dig this because it may collapse. So looking for advanced technology, how to bring out more stuff from these chambers. And we have 5 original shafts. 5 original shafts. These are originals because then the shaft, this one like this, are originals for getting off air and light. Because this is a royal family's burial place, as well as the dead body entrance.
Okay.
So these 2 doors are just entrance for the slaves, which is preparing the chambers and other treasures to burial place. But the dead body must in this way, so the dead body must be robbed and sent them by other slaves, and another slaves they take their body and try to bury them by their age and gender. Men to the other side, women to the other side, old to the other side, younger to the other side. But now the original shafts are the main cause for eating a lot of water in the rain season.
Yeah.
So they put that glass and tent more protection from rain season. Because see, as you see the land, this is still wet because of the last rain season. And in some parts like this one, archaeologists, they put a glass just to measure whether the cracking is going more wider or not. This is just, they put it before 2 years. So still there is nothing breaking things, but if there is a broken thing in the glass, they know that this is going more wider. Yes, we always have one here which is now broken.
Yes.
See, there was a glass, and they say this is more in danger. That's why this is still protection more from just falling. So Careful, the steel. There are two. Careful, second one. So this was just the other entrance, the same like with the we enter that side. There was like another entrance, but when the biggest tail hit us, this will just collapse. The other door design.
Yeah, okay.
They put it with wood support, and this is just new one made in 2005 by UNESCO, just cover because a lot of water was in this side.
Gotcha.
So now we use that door for in and out.
Out.
So this is just made new one, but still can you see that's still wet because of the water leaking and another. So rain season was the main cause the cracking also increasing from time to time. Yes. Careful head.
Yep.
So imagine we have 10 chambers, 5 to the left and 5 to the right. So we need to be more than 100 royal families was buried in this tomb of the mosaic. So now we'll give you a good photo. Some of them the museum, and some of them some. So you stand here to give you a good photo for that.
Yes, you're beautiful, though, I'm not lying.
So this is, we call it Aksumite architectural design or their geometry.
Huh? Why not, Bill? So you just stay here by yourself? I said, if you just stay here by yourself?
With your head.
Yeah.
So that stairs are original, it's the way entrance to the treasury room.
Okay.
The stairs there. But English archaeologists, they brought one big stone like this one until here. To enter, this is just open new one by 1974, English archaeologists.
Okay.
So starting that point this way is the first treasury room. So what you're gonna see in this treasury room is just how big are these rooms. This is just above our head, big wider. Just imagine a lot of treasures was put in, but now there's nothing left. Also, we'll see some structures starting this point or here are single piece of stone, like triangular. One piece. One piece of stone. And no cement, no pounding. This is like second treasury room. But you can see the well covered one because this is not broken. One piece triangular stones, like T-shape. And this was the third treasury room. So you remember this? This is the one we saw from the other side. So nothing left here, all gone, the treasures. So according to the English archaeologists, tomb riders or farmers in this area, they're storing some of the stuff before the excavation. That is the reason behind it. We didn't believe that.
Oh, that's live, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So we will see some treasures from here in the Archaeological Museum. Some of them in National Museum and most of them in English Museum. We took them for study and not return. You have to imagine how big are these.
Yeah, man, these guys, they have real treasures, right?
So as you saw inside, it is very well covered. But under that, we have a second cut for easy to took, also when they bring it back to AXUM. So this obelisk is different from the others.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference?
It doesn't have a false door, no?
They have.
Yeah, it doesn't have.
But this looks more bright or new.
New, okay.
Because 7 decades in Italy, the weather condition affect us because of AXUM in Rome. But we believe that the Italians, they varnish it, they clean it. Because the real granite store here are gray.
Gray.
This looks more bright.
You sure it's not a replica?
Yes.
Eh?
Yeah.
I'm saying, do you guys sure it's not a replica? They don't rebuild something like the original.
No, that's the
This is original, okay.
Yes.
I'm just saying because I know these guys are
Yes.
tricky, you know.
So this is the one still standing, but now as you see, now leaning to the left side. This is because of the Italian. You see the gap is like 10 to 12 meters. Because when they re-erected this one, there was a lot of movement this area. Like the machines, cranes. There was shaking of the ground. That's why now leaning to the left side. So it needs this to support. So our Prime Minister, before 1 month, he was here. He showed this stele and they're going to do it maintenance. Also the Vice Minister of Italy. So in 2020, they're gonna leave this metal and to do a lot of things from the base to stand alone because they don't want to change the history.
Yeah.
This is standing still for 1,800 years.
1,800.
And a good lucky bird living on the top, he make his fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
No one touch him.
Yeah.
Except now we'll see the archaeological. ሙዚየም ነው። ሁለቱም ሙዚየሞች እዚህ አሁን አርኪኦሎጂካል ሙዚየም ነው። እዛኛው ደግሞ የቤተክርስቲያን ሙዚየም አለን። ሁለቱም ብቻ ነው።
Okay.
So photo note allowed in the museum.
Okay.
Archaeological museum and later also we will see
Photo.
the church museum, both of them. But
No
later,
photo.
Yeah, outside even the compound of the church, we can make the photo except the museum.
Okay.
Yes.
ውስጥ መግባት እንችላለን አይደል?
That's it?
Ask him if he can go inside. The church.
I can't take a picture. It's the same thing, right?
No, inside this is okay.
Okay.
But inside the museum. Sahasha.
Dahan?
9th century. You saw them, I think, in the museum. Yeah. The model of the first century Roman church. It was reconstructed again in the same position, but in the 16th century, there was a Muslim leader called Ahmed Grai, or Grani Ahmed. He also burned the church twice in the 16th century. So the original base are taken and taken to that old church. That old church is built in 1665 by the Gondarian king, King Fasilides. Have you been to Gondar?
Yeah.
So you saw his castle, the
Castle.
same like his
Yeah.
castle.
That's
He
what I
made
was
for
gonna
this
say,
church.
yeah.
Yeah, he made for this church. So that is just from Fasil, King Fasil. But this is the new centenary Zion church, which was built 1965 by the last emperor of Ethiopia, Emperor Haile Selassie. So at that time, he budgeted $1.3 million, which was a lot of money. Because 1965, $1 and one Ethiopian birr have the same currency, same value, which was a lot of money was spending for making this church. And the Greek architectures or designers make for this church. So it has 3 entrance gates, one for men, one for women, one for the holies.
The priest.
The priestess, monks, or patriarchs even he can.
All right.
For that side. But now we share the same door for men and women. Only the holies or the patriarch or the popes, they enter from the other side.
Okay.
As well as Queen Elizabeth II from England, she was here. She gives a big chandelier inside this church. So you will see that in the painting. So when Emperor Haile Selassie made this church, his wife made this green one. And this green one built by Itegemene, or Emperor Haile Selassie's wife, or the queen. And this is just a home for the Ark of the Covenant, or the 10 Commandments, starting from 1965. So only one monk has the right to keep this ark. This monk is just chosen from the members of the monk. The one who is very aged and trusted one. And he gave his life, he never moved from this fenced area. He always just keeping the ark inside the building. He cannot go out. After he chose, he served until he died. So according to our religion, this man is more near to God than the others because he gave his life until he died. So there are another deacons, they look after him, like food and other related things. So nowadays there is a cracking on the top of the building, which means some water drops into the arch. Instead of that, they're making now this golden one. It will be a feature home for the Ark of the Covenant, which means they will move it very soon to the new home of the Ark of the Covenant. And as you see, the new home, the window are made also the same structure of the obelisk, or the stairs, we saw them. So this is just the only church, which is only for men, monastery church. But this we can share the same, men and women. So later I will take him to that area, but now we will enter inside, see the painting and other.
So the Ark of the Covenant is not the same one that came from Jerusalem, right?
That's it. That's
Yes.
yes. But in the special holidays, we bring the copy of the ark.
So the one they say no one can go near it, only one person. That's it. That's the place.
Yes, that's the place. So we will make shoes off. Shoes off.
Camera, can I use inside there?
Yeah. So this is the challenger, which is given or gifted by Queen Elizabeth from England. So it's given by Queen Elizabeth. And it has a doors which say that is just the same thing used by the holies, patriarch, the pope, monks, priests. But this is for men and women, but now we can share the same door. Yes, all these chairs. Also the painting are starting from 1965 and nowadays. Show the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, this one. And different painting from 1965. So after we finish the photo and video, you go there to see the Bible.
Yeah. I Selassie, I didn't play with Selassie now. Some can't understand me.
ለምን ይሰጣቸዋል? አንኳኩ ይከፈትላቸዋል።
አሜን።
በንጽህና ብቻ በንጽህና ሆናችሁ የዓለም ማለት ነው። ሳትጨቃጨቁ ተፋቀራችሁ።
Don't argue, love each other.
አንቺ በዚህ ውስጥ ተብላችሁ ተማካከራችሁ ነው። ትዳር ማለት እንግዲህ ተማካከሩ ነው ሲሆን ነው።
Marriage is communication and love.
ዋናው ፍቅር ነው።
ዋናው ፍቅር love.
ክርስቶስ የመጣው ወደዚህ ለፍቅር ነው።
Jesus came here for love.
እናንተ ደግሞ ተፋቅራችሁ የዓለም ዝለቁበት።
So we have to be strong and love each other and go through this world.
ሰው በሀብት አይኖርም፣ በፍቅር ያገር ነው።
We don't live by wealth, we live by love.
Okay, love.
ዓለም ከባድ ነው።
This
ሰው
world
ያለ
is
ስራው
hard.
ይሰራል። ስለ የሰው አትስሙ።
Don't listen to people.
ሁለታችን ፍቱት። ከእናንተ የሆነ ነገር ቢፈጠር ሁለታችን መመካከል።
If anything happens between you two, talk to each other. Don't let outsiders in.
ያስፈጽማችሁ።
So and now you see how he read us.
ለሁላቸው ስማ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ ስሙ ነግሮኩማ ሐዋርያው ፍቁራን ወደ ቤተ ክርስቲያን እግዚአብሔር ይባርኩሙ ወያብርሃ ይታረኩነ ሰማያ ተአምሪሃ ለእግዝእትነ ቅድስት ወድንግል በክልኤ ማርያም ወላዲተ አምላክ ተሰሩ አንወሩ አው ትሩፋን ደክሲዮስ ኤጲስቆጶስ ዘማርቆ ካላን ኤጲስቆጶሳት በእንተ ባያ ወቆራን ለሚተረፉት ያህል ምስረኩነ ህዝበ ክርስቲያን ሰማያን ወአራሚን ዓለም ዓለም አሜን።
Amen. The Father name, Holy Spirit, one love, one God.
እግዚአብሔር ተፈቃድ ጋር ለሲም ይቻላል።
Yes.
Oh, you got it.
Still we are recording.
A whole lot of stones is around here now.
And this is Queen Shaba's swimming pool.
And the pool is.
This one. They don't want to pay a tax. He went with his soldiers, he defeats them. So all these three languages are tales about the victory of that his enemies. So this inscription was dated to the 4th century, but found in 1988 by these three local farmers.
Okay.
Mr. Godefalagese, Mr. Sagihabus, and Mr. Kasawan Garima are farmers. When they do the traditional way of farming, they will just lay down the ground here. Exact place here. So when they see the written things, they know this is something. They inform the administration of AXUM. So the administration can start become to start in AXUM. and they get rewarded for founding of this inscription. So two of them was died, the top one, but the bottom, Mr. Kasa, is still alive. So when he's walking on this street, his nickname is Archaeology.
Archaeology, okay.
The kids, everyone, neighbors, they call him Archaeology because
Okay,
they found
fine.
this.
So he's the one who find this?
They
Three
found
of
two
them.
farm,
Three of them?
yeah,
Yeah.
farming, yeah.
Farming. And it's mentioned here, as an inscription, this memorial inscription belongs to an Aksumite king of 4th century AD, known as Ezana. It is inscribed in Greek, Serbian, and Ge'ez. So in this inscription, King Ezana announces his victory over his enemies. So after King Ezana defeated his enemies, became the first Christian king in 328 AD, and they changes his name from Ezana to Abraham, and his twin brother Saidana to Atzbah, or we call them Abraham. So this is, we call it the Rosetta stone, like the Egyptian. One stone in 3 different languages.
So the guy who find the stone,
3 of them.
3 of them, right?
Yeah,
Two of them died, one of
is
them
alive.
still alive. So when he walking around this area, everyone call him Archaeology.
Archaeology.
Because he found.
He
Find
found
it.
this. So you see the mountain chain?
Yeah.
Chain.
Yep.
These are represent the Adwa mountains. So this is where the greatest battlefield here with Italy, dated to 1896, to give a great victory to Ethiopia, also inspires for the rest of African countries. But as I can mention, the Italians, they come back for revenge in 1936. They took one of our second largest obelisks.
Yep.
So here is okay, because a good view. This is 2,150 above sea level. So we can have now, it's a good place also to see also with the battle.
All right.
Others just reconstruct again like how it was being before. So now we're going to go to the top to see the view of the palace, and later we'll enter inside.
So where's the palace? Here?
This one.
Okay.
This is the palace is back to look
I thought it was like a big palace. I'm like, this is the palace?
Oh, so them just reconstruct
Yeah.
the
because have
support.
like 2 and 3 more stories facing different natural disasters.
Okay.
Now there's the foundation of the palace.
Okay. Oh, I get you.
ሁሉ ሰው ይችላል ይሄ ነገር?
Oui, les deux bus étaient arrêtés là derrière. Il y avait 2 endroits où ils...
Oui, mais de loin.
Ah bah non, mais sans bloquer. Ah bah si, mais on va te montrer les photos. Hein.
Yes. What do you have?